once again to the Heathen Hearthside. I'm Matt, and I will be your host again. So, I just wanted to talk about a few things that, questions that I get asked, and so this is just a sort of a rambling video, just like, a nice little Hearthside chat. So one of the questions that I get asked a lot is there a wrong way to honor the gods? No, there isn't. There are many different ways to honor the gods, and realistically, unless you're going to offer them something outright insulting, such as rotten food or a pile of dung, no, there really isn't a wrong way to honor the gods, because what is important is that you are coming before the gods with the intent to honor them. So even if the only thing that you have to offer them is a cup of water, let's say maybe you went and you collected that water from a special spot in the river or the stream, or just a special place that you like to go, personal to you, and that's what you can afford. You can afford at the time to go and get this water and bring it to the place where you honor the gods and offer it to them. That's an honorable offering. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, this is mentioned in the Havamal in a couple of stanzas, the most applicable of which is better no offering than too big a prayer, or better no, better. And then there's not great things alone must one give to another. Little for oft little will buy praise. With a half full bowl, with a tilted bowl and half a loaf, I found myself many a friend. So, it's not always about being able to give, something huge to the gods, or being able to, sometimes it's just the small things. The only real, I guess you could say rule that I would say is, don't do, is do not bend your knees in supplication to the gods. Stand in front of the gods. Because if you bow and scrape and grovel, they will have no respect for you. Our God, if you read the sagas, if you read the Havamal, if you read any of the stories about the gods, you will know that one of the things that they prize very highly is someone who has courage, someone who is willing to stand, someone who is strong. And bending your knee in supplication and bowing and scraping in groveling is a sign of weakness, and that is something that our gods do not hold with. But other than that, no, there is no wrong way to honor the gods. Another of the questions that I get asked is, so you're, so you're a Viking. Well, no, not in the most traditional sense of the word. No, I'm not a Viking, because a Viking is someone who goes on sea voyages across the seas to steal, pillage, and raid from people. So no, I'm not a Viking. I'm an Asatru. I'm a heathen. I am a medievalist reenactor, which, is a whole lot of fun. But in the traditional sense of the word, am I a Viking? No. But, in a more modern sense of the word, let's look at that for a little bit. If the Norse had never been Christianized and, had their culture continued on uninterrupted as it was to this day, how many people out there think that the Vikings, which let's just go ahead and assume that would now be their military, would be the Vikings. How many people think that the Vikings would be running around in the 21st century carrying one of these and not carrying, say, an AS-50 or a G-36C and a Desert Eagle and hand grenades? How many people? Because I don't. I'm pretty sure they would have updated their technology and their weapons to the modern day. So I guess you could say that in the sense of the spirit of sacrifice and hard work and facing dangers to increase one's own honor and increase the honor and standing of one's family and kin, then in that sense, yes, I'm a modern day Viking. Because that is what the ancient Vikings, that is the reason entirely why they went on raids, why they went a Viking in the first place, was to be able to increase their family's standing, honor, and holdings. So, Yes, in a modern day sense, it's just my weapons are different. My weapons are my wits, my weapons are my hard work and my work ethic. Those are the weapons that I use to pillage respect and to raid, to raid my paycheck, if you will. I guess if you, I raid my paycheck, I guess you could say. But again, it's all about updating with the times. And to me, the Vikings just had this really powerful spirit of adventure. They had a very powerful sense of go and get it. And, again, just the only thing that's really changed is the methods that we use. So I think that, one can very much, in, enshrine the spirit of the ancient Viking within themselves and find that and and get in touch with that and do and if it then use it to push you to do some great things. So and I think that a lot of us Asatruars, I think a lot of us really probably initially our first exposure, at least to Norse culture, was most certainly, reading and or watching documentaries about the Vikings. It's probably what got most of us into it. So, yes, in a sense, you could consider yourself a Viking. Um, I don't consider myself a Viking, and that's all I am. That doesn't define me, but there is that Viking spirit in me that always yearns to strive. Now, another one of the things that I want to talk about really quickly is, um, you know, how we, how we can stand in society, because there is a big conception, there is a big stereotype, that all of us heathens and pagans, we are just these pie in the sky. At best, we're pie in the sky deluded hippies, and at worst, as is sensationalized by the media, of course, we're racists, white supremacists, extremists of some nature or another. Which obviously, for the most of us is, in true. Um, and I think that the way that we need to counteract this is we need to get out into the community and just start doing good. Um, one of the things you can do is just put together, little plastic bags, maybe a pack of crackers, a bag of chips, a pair of socks, or maybe a pair of, gloves, or, or especially a pair of socks, some toothpaste and a toothbrush, and maybe, a couple dollars if you can spare it in cash, and go and hand them to homeless people. Maybe with a little, maybe with a little tag inside of it that says, Hail Odin. Or, maybe a little prayer or a stanza from the Havamal in with that. I do that. And that's just one of the ways that I'm going out there and I'm dispelling some of the stereotypes about what being a heathen is. And I think one of the more important things about being heathen is to really, at least in society, don't let that define who you are. And I see a lot of that going on. People, oh, I'm a heathen, I'm heathen this, I'm heathen that. Oh, well, I wouldn't do that, I'm heathen. They let being a heathen come to define what and who they are as a person. And that is something that we very much need to avoid. Being a heathen, my faith in Odin and the gods is simply a part of who I am. It does not make me who I am. So that's a thing to watch out for. And this is advice really mostly to people who are new to Asatru, because it is very easy, my young friends, it is very, very easy to allow, especially when you come to something that gives you that sense of belonging that you've been wanting for the longest time, it is very easy to define yourself by that. And that is something that I want you to very much as you can, avoid doing. Don't do that. Be yourself. Let being heathen just be part of what makes you who you are. Do not let it define you. Because as soon as you let something define you, you become a stereotype. Whether or not you actually live up to the stereotype in your actions, your words, and your deeds is a different story. But by defining yourself by a certain characteristic of your life, you have become a stereotype, or you will be subjected to those stereotypes. And I know that we all, or at least a great many of us, we face discrimination. particularly and primarily from monotheist religions, particularly Christianity, or at least people that call themselves Christian but aren't. But I've seen it even within the pagan community, the greater pagan community, which is just really, to me, it's very, very sad. Just so, because the pagan community and my problem, at least here where I live in the Seven Cities area, there isn't community. Okay, you have all of these cliques that come together at this one place called the Mystic Moon every Friday night for drum circle, but it is a bunch of cliques for the most part. There isn't a whole lot of community going on here because the Gardenians don't want to work with the Alexandrians. The Alexandrians don't want to work with the Necromancers. The Necromancers don't want to work with the Greek pagans. The Greek pagans don't want to work with the Norse pagans, and the unidentified, non-denominational, generic pagans just want to stay to themselves, which is fine in most everyday practice. I'm not saying that you have to go around and all the time always be in each other's faces, but my problem is that when we come together, there is a lack of community. So I think that's another thing that we really need to work on building is community. Always think about it as a community. If you need help, I'm here, or there's many people available for you, and resources that you can call on, But that's one of the things that I think is really important that we build is a community, because it's too easy to just get involved in a clique and let that one little clique be your community. I try to share community with all kinds of heathens. I'm friends with folkish heathens. I'm friends with universalist heathens. I'm friends with pagans. I'm friends with Wiccans, Gardenians, Alexandrians, Greek Reconstructionists, Thelemic followers of the Kabbalah. I have fellowship with Christians and Muslims and people of every walk of life and every faith. And this is what I mean by promoting community. Because in the end, there really isn't too much difference in the morals and practices of pretty much every religion in the world. And I really think that one of the things that we need to do as heathens, and to really get rid of some of these harsh stereotypes and some of these cultural misconceptions about our faith and what it means to be a heathen, is one of the things that we need to do is we need to start doing really like the Christian church does, like some Muslim organizations and some Jewish organizations do. Get out there and be a charitable force for good in the greater community, especially trying to coordinate and set up liaisons and interfaith organizations to show people that other than the fact that we call our gods by a different name, that we're really no different from any of them. So that's something, that is something that is exceptionally important that we do, is that we not only foster community within the heathen community, which is itself very important, something that, one of the reasons that I'm doing these videos is to foster community within heathenry and spread awareness of it and just kind of take the edge off that people, especially people of other faiths, have about heathenry. But I think it's important for each and every one of us to take that responsibility, to as much of a degree as you feel that you can handle, upon yourself, and get out there and do some good things and work with Christians, there's to work with Muslims, work with Jews. There's nothing wrong with that. We've called the gods by different names, obviously, but I think we all want the same thing. We all want to help our fellow man, and when we see someone struggling, we want to help that person. So let's do that. Let's focus on building community like that. And the last thing that I really want to talk about is just, is courage. And I don't mean courage, and when I say courage, what I mean is the courage to not fire back with rhetoric when we're faced with it. That is one of the biggest pieces of courage that I would, personally give to anybody that's new to heathenry. You are going to face some BS. Okay, you're going to face some tough times, especially if you're new to Asatru, and especially if you're, even if you're not new to the faith, but you're new to publicly declaring yourself as Asatru, you're going to face some trying times. And one of the quickest responses that you're going to have is to respond to hate with hate. And I want you to try and have the courage to not do that. because, and it's not because, you know, sometimes they don't deserve to get a little blast verbally. I mean, if anybody's talking too much crap to you, you know, yeah, it's easy to sit there and be like, man, I wish I could just shut this guy up and just say some mean stuff to him. I mean, I understand that. The reason I'm going to ask you to have the courage not to do that is because as soon as we get irate, as soon as we act uncivilized, basically, then everything that they're saying and stereotyping was with, they have ammunition to use against us for that point. You see what you understand? So I'm not saying you don't stand up for what you believe in. I'm not saying to knuckle underneath the pressure. I'm not saying to bow and scrape before people. Don't do any of those things, of course. But just do your best to not fire back with outright hatred. Fire back with solidarity. Fire back with unshakable confidence in your faith. And, you know, other than that, if they really won't leave you alone, then just leave. Just, you know, because it's not worth it. Unless they attack you first physically, don't reduce it to the level of fisticuffs or physical violence first. Now, if they try and put your hands on you, by all means, beat the crap out of them. Absolutely. Beat the crap out of them if they try and put their hands on you. I'm not going to stand here and tell you not to defend yourself, okay? But again, you know, one of my favorite verses in the Havamah that really explains my attitudes towards the discrimination that I face and the people, you know, and how I deal with people is the first part of a stanza in the Havamah, and it says, "The wise-counseled man will be mild and bearing, and make a measured use of his might." Okay, that is how I deal with that. A measured use of my might. I don't have to go all out. You know, every time I face something, I make a measured use of my might. And sometimes a measured use of your might is to use no might at all. So, in closing, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to sit here and have this chat with me. Check out Jeff Rudis' video, Heathen Moments, the 9 Noble Virtues and intro, should be coming up soon. So, unless, of course, it gets posted before this video, which, in case, go watch it anyway. Even if you already watched it, go watch it again. So, thanks, everybody, for sitting and having this chat with me. I'm Matt. This has been the Heathen Hearthside. Hail the gods, hail the ancestors, and hail our community.